Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Stockholm and have a look at another brewery who I have never tried anything from before. So very curious to see how this one turns out. It's always nice to introduce you guys to new Swedish breweries. So for this one then we are going to go to PKLK Bryggeri, who I've, as I say, never encountered before. And this one is the Public Service, which is an American pale ale coming in at 4.8% ABV. Now this beer was released on the 1st of April 2020 through the local and småskalig assortment that we get every month from Systembolaget. Basically the Swedish beer release that we have, which I think is awesome because the Swedish breweries now have far easier access to the market than they used to. But yeah, this, as I say, when I was looking through the list of what was available, this was another brewery I hadn't heard of before. I quite liked the name of it and I just kind of thought, well, it's something new to do on the channel, so hopefully it turns out to be pretty nice actually, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I always enjoy introducing you guys to new Swedish breweries, and hopefully these guys are another one who are one to keep an eye on. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from PKLK Bryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about PKLK Brewery. So PKLK Brewery, or PKLK Bryggeri, as we should say, are based in Stockholm, and they were founded back in 2012 in Enskede by Peter Pikulik. So he began homebrewing back in 2008, and he just really became hooked on the hobby and decided that was what he wanted to do professionally. But he has a background in production and mechanical engineering, and he worked for Sony for a period of time as well actually, so a very smart guy by all accounts. So the brewery gradually grew over the years, and then they moved to Tyresö in 2015, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and at this time they were running a 500 litre brewery, but they continued to grow over the coming years again, and then they entered into a partnership with Untitled Brewery, who you've seen me review for the first time quite recently as well, and they moved to Skeppsnäck. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is in the south of Stockholm, and they produced the first batches from this new brewery, or this facility that they're sharing, in early 2019. I believe it's February 2019 that they released their first beers from there. But over 2019 they went on to produce just under 20,000 litres of beer, and they opened a restaurant called Brisket and Friends, and they brew beer under the name Big Bones Brews as well for that restaurant, from what I understand. And as of April 2020, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, they have produced around 30 different kinds of beer, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, that was all the information that I was able to find about the PKLK Brewery. As I say, another brewery who are new. I've got a feeling this might well be the first release that they've done through Systembolaget here in Sweden. So yeah, not sure about that actually. But as I say, this I got 2 beers from Universum, and then I got 1 beer from PKLK Bryggeri as well. So definitely cool to see more and more breweries making their way into Systembolaget. And this one caught my eye on the list just because I hadn't heard of them before, and I thought the name of it was quite interesting, because the thing is, it's always interesting when you find English names when you go through this list. A number of the Swedish breweries are putting the names of their beers in English these days, so you know, some of the English ones do tend to catch the eye. But yeah, we'll just see how we get on with it. As I say, that's all the information I was able to find on PKLK Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out their brewery website. They do have quite a nice website there. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages for the brewery as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So yeah, I have to admit, I like the artwork on this one. It reminds me, you know, some of the old stuff. You know, these I think that's what it's meant to be, right enough. You know, it's the things, the sort of cut screens, if you like, or the loading screens that usually have the clock on them for the TV. So I think that's obviously, I think, what they're going for with this one. But yeah, really nicely presented. This there is the PKLK Bryggeri symbol there. PKLK, of course, probably comes from the name Peter Pikulik. I wonder if he is actually, I don't know if this guy is actually Swedish, because with a name like Pikulik, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's from one of the Baltic countries or something like that, or someone in his family's been. But of course Sweden does have a good, you know, a long history with that. This is going back to the Swedish Empire and things, so there are people who are Swedish and have these sort of names. So yeah, but Pikulik, I mean, it does sound a little bit more like a Baltic name. It's interesting, but yeah, nicely presented beer, this one, and hopefully it turns out to be really nice. Like I said, a 4.8% American Pale Ale. Let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. So yeah, yes, this should be quite nice. Very curious about this. I've still got one of the beers to review from Universum, so I don't know. Maybe I'll wait an hour or two and film that one after this, we'll need to see. But yeah, still a little bit in the can, but we can see the appearance of the beer for the moment anyway. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from an American Pale, this one's poured a lovely kind of bright pale golden yellow straw colour. There's a solid half finger of a frothy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but you know, overall it does look pretty nice actually. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see this one does have some, you know, it does have a level of haziness to it, so I guess you can probably say that this one is in New England, and it does say it's basically corn malt and wheat malt that's in this, so this one will be a sort of wheaty leaning IPA, or pale ale I guess I should say. We all know that the pale ales and the IPAs and the double IPAs, barley wines, they're all related to each other through the malt to hop ratio, but this one in terms of a pale ale does look pretty nice actually, nothing overly surprising about it. I like how everything goes together in this one. So yeah, in terms of its appearance, nothing particularly surprising, so let's look at the aroma and see how we get on. This one, it's actually quite mild on its aroma. It's kind of got what you would expect, but there's a bit of graininess to it as well. You can definitely pick up some of the wheaty, kind of white bready notes. There is a little bit of a more kind of wholemealy, grainy type bread in there as well. One or two wee woody notes. You can pick up a few things from the yeasty end of the beer as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, there is just a wee bit. I'd be interested to know what yeast they've used in this one, because there are just a few of these little almost farmhousey elements to the beer. You know, a little bit of that herbal, woody kind of thing, a wee bit of you know, just a little touch of earthiness. There are a few of those farmhousey elements just making their, you know, sticking their heads up above the parapet with this beer. So yeah, I mean, it's one of these ones. I have to say, generally on this beer, the aroma is quite you know, quite mild and straightforward, but you know, when it's a pale ale, you do expect that to a degree. It's not going to be as big and bold as an IPA or even a double IPA or barley wine or whatever. So yeah, the pale ale, you have to remember, is one of the more kind of reserved, conservative styles of beer, I guess you could say. But you know, I think this one will be quite a nice, easy drinking beer. There's a few biscuity malts to this one. You do get a little bit of that kind of McVitie's digestive type malty quality out of this one, so probably a little bit of carapils or something like that in here. Definitely a wee bit of a biscuity, very lightly kind of caramelly type sweetness to this one. Yeah, I like how that goes together. But yeah, the malt base and the yeasty side of this one is fairly straight. A bit of white bread in there, a little bit of brown bread underneath. You can smell a bit of biscuity sweetness, and there's a few sort of woody, herbally, vegetally type elements from the yeasty side of the beer actually. So that's interesting. On the hoppy side of things, green side of the hops for me is leaning towards the grassy element. There's a little bit of a kind of, there is a little bit of an earthy quality to this beer. Yeah, definitely a little bit floral as well, but I would say the green side of the hops leans towards the grassy side of things, and you have got a wee bit of a floral, a wee bit of an earthy element to it as well, which is quite interesting. On the fruity side, there's not too much, I think, to report there. It's got a little bit of It does have a wee bit of a sort of tropically note to it. It's not really citrusy, this beer. It's very light and very tropical, you know, like a little bit of a mango, a little bit of a kind of apricot-y type thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a kind of, you know, a straight up Citra or something like this. I think this one probably will be some kind of Citra, maybe Simcoe. It's got that sort of light, kind of old school vibe to it. Yeah, I think it's interesting that actually. It is very just light, very tropical, a little bit of mango, a little bit of a maybe stronger passion fruity note in the background, but then yeah, apricot, you know, a little bit of that apricot-y papaya type lighter tropical fruit. Maybe a wee teeny bit of a kind of zesty note, the sort of grassy, citrusy type thing that you sometimes get. But overall, the aroma of this one, as I say, it's not one of the most kind of pungent things you're going to come across, but then when it's a paleo, you don't really expect it to be. So yeah, let's have a look at this one then and just see how we get on. This one is the Public Service, an American Pale Ale at 4.8% ABV from the PKLK Brewery up in Stockholm. Let's get stuck in. Sláinte, skål. Yeah. Oh, it is actually quite, it is actually a little bit farmhousey leaning, that. Yeah. It has a wee bit of this, it really does have a little bit of this kind of Vermont farmhousey, yeasty type quality going on in it, which is interesting. And I think this is one of the lower alcohol beers that I've had that has this kind of thing with it, because you know, and usually the thing is with the higher alcohol ones, you do have more malt in there to kind of balance it out, because when you get the more yeasty leaning pale ales and IPAs and stuff like that, of course the yeasty flavours are going to be a little bit more prominent. That's one of the trade-offs you have. Do you use more malt, or do you let the yeast flavours come out a little bit more? And I suppose that's one of the big things with Belgian beer. A lot of the time they use, it is a very, Belgian beer obviously is very, very yeast leaning, but they use sugar a lot of the time, just, you know, straight up sugar, and I think that helps bring out the yeasty flavours a bit more. Harriet, Blue Nose Beer Reviews would be the one to tell you about that. Trained brewer and everything. But yeah, this one, it's actually a very nice kind of drinkable pale ale. This, I mean, as I say, it's when you have a pale ale, you need to remember that that beer style is not the most punchy, not the most in your face. It is supposed to just be a nice kind of drinkable beer, and that's what PKLK have managed to pull off here. I think they've got a very, very nice beer actually. So yeah, this one, as I say, it's, if you like a sort of more farmhousey, grainy leaning type pale ale, then this is one that's going to tick the boxes for you. For me, it's quite interesting because I don't think I've had a beer that's quite had the same profile in quite a while actually. So yeah, thumbs up to PKLK Brewery for this one. I think I will keep an eye and see what these guys are releasing over the next little while, because if this is the first beer they've put out there, and I guess probably the whole thing, the public service name, it's kind of a little bit of a play actually, because, you know, Systembolaget, it is a public, you know, it's a public company in Sweden. So yeah, I think that's, I never thought about that earlier on when I was opening it up. I quite like the sort of little poke that they've made with there. It's quite good. So yeah, let's focus on the kind of malty side of the flavour profile of the beer then. So straight away with this one, you can feel that a little bit of that kind of woody, grainy sort of thing. That sort of blankets the middle of your tongue there. It's the yeasty character that's coming out. As you go towards the back of the palate, you feel the wheat coming out a little bit more. There is a wee bit of a bitiness to the wheat in this beer, but as you come further forward, you can feel it starts to lean a little bit more towards that kind of pale malty type quality. In the very centre of your palate, you've got a wee bit of a kind of biscuity thing, which is nice. It's not too prominent though. This beer really doesn't have a lot of sweetness to it. It's very smooth and a little bit grainy, to be honest with you, which is interesting. I like how that goes together. So yeah, if you like your more Vermont type pale ales and stuff, this is one that's going to suit you to the ground, to be honest with you. But yeah, not too much to report in the way of the malt base. As I say, quite grainy. You do feel that sort of grainy woody, herbally sort of thing. The farmhouse yeast, that blankets the middle of the tongue. A bit more wheaty towards the back of the palate. Little tiny bit of biscuit in the middle of the palate as you go further forward, and then you've got all the hoppy elements to the beer as well. So a little bit of a kind of earthy quality in the back corners of the palate. As you move further forward along the side of the tongue, it's got a nice little bit of a floral aromatic quality there. Then around the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. So yeah, I'd say in terms of the green side of the hops, it leans the earthiness and the grassiness comes out of this one quite nicely. I'm curious as to what hops are in this, because the earthiness is quite prominent from the hoppy side of the beer, come to think of it. So yeah, behind the front curve of the palate, it's you get that little oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer, and again it's a very sort of mild tropical fruit sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, if you go to the back of that oily part of the palate, there is a wee bit of the darker tropical fruits, maybe a little bit of passion fruit, but then as you come further forward from that, it really leans more towards, it becomes a bit more mango-y, and then as you get to the there's a wee touches of, like, you know, papaya, apricots, these kind of lighter tropical fruits in there. Then as you reach the kind of front side of the palate, it's got a little bit of almost a little bit of a kind of gooseberry type ester there, and then you can start to feel a bit of the kind of grassy, that sort of zesty, grassy type ester there on the very front edge of the tongue. If I was guessing hops with this one, I've got a feeling this might just be, you know, Citra, maybe a little bit of Simcoe in there. It's just very soft tropical fruits that you're getting out of this beer. There's something that makes me want to say it is a little bit kind of old school. As I've said, this isn't the boldest of beers that you're going to come across. You wouldn't expect that from a pale ale. I think this is one that's just designed to be, you know, drinkable. You know, I think it's kind of in the name as well, public service. This is a beer, this brewery basically trying to get their name out there, if you like, and it's their first release through Systembolaget, so they want a beer that a lot of people are interested in drinking. So I can understand why they would brew something like this. If you're wanting a big, you know, beast of an IPA that's going to blow the head off you and things like, you know, some of the Apex or some of the Dugas, and things like this, you know, this isn't a beer that's going to do that. This is just designed as a sort of sessionable ale, and you know, it does the job. It does the job in that regard, actually. It's an interesting one. This, you will notice, it's just a very sessionable beer. This one could be very well marketed as a session IPA. Actually, in my opinion, this would be a nice, quite sessionable IPA rather than anything else. But I mean, as I say, it's a pale ale, and it's the hop to malts ratios are obviously different with these things, because you can brew the pale ale to very high strengths and things if you want. It's all about maintaining that malt to hop ratio with these different styles of beer. So yeah, in terms of flavour, this one, it's a little bit Vermonty, as I say, a little bit kind of grainy and things like that, but you've got some nice lighter tropical fruits to it, and the hops are quite kind of straightforward as well. It's just a very drinkable, sessionable, I don't know if you can quite determine this one as New England, but it's quite a sessionable, wheaty leaning pale ale, if you like. I like how this one goes together. So, you know, thumbs up to PKLK Brewery for this one. This is quite an interesting first release, actually. So hopefully we see more from these guys in the near future. It'd be cool to see one of their more kind of beastly beers, because I know they do quite a few different styles and things. So maybe the next one will be a bit more of a beast, who knows. It does have a little bit of that kind of homebrewed vibe to it. I mean, I don't know how big the batches will be with these. I wonder if they bought a new brew kit recently, and that's why we're getting the Universum and PKLK beers throughout the whole of Sweden, because they've got that, as I say, they were sharing a brewery and they've got separate tanks and things, but they both released their beers at the same time, so they must have invested in a canning line together, or a bigger brew space or something like this. So yeah, that's always one of the interesting things when you think about these breweries sharing facilities and stuff. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, this beer is fairly light bodied. The carbonation has a bit of crispness to it on this one, and I'd say overall the mouthfeel it's got a little bit of smoothness to it, but mainly it's quite a wet, almost crisp mouthfeel. In terms of IBUs and hoppy bitterness, you know, I think this one's your fairly sort of standard 25 or 30 that you get for an IPA and things these days. The malt base, as I say, fairly smooth, a little bit of grainy dryness. The further you go into the aftertaste, you will feel more of the kind of graininess coming out of this beer. It's also down to the yeast strain that's been used in here as well, which I suspect is probably some kind of Vermont yeast. And then you've also got just a little bit of a kind of soft tropical fruit to the beer, so it's just a very drinkable pale ale, this one. I think there's not really many other ways to describe this one other than that, a very nice drinkable pale ale in my opinion. So yeah, this one was the Public Service, a 4.8% American pale ale from the PKLK Brewery up in Stockholm, making what I think is their first appearance through Systembolaget, which is pretty cool. I think they've got a few of their beers in the local. When I say the first appearance on the channel, usually I mean it's the first one that's come through one of the releases, but I think they have got a couple of beers at in some of the local Systembolagets up there in the south of Stockholm. So yeah, check out this beer if you want a nice kind of light pale ale. It's been cool to introduce this brewery to you on the channel for the first time, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed this review. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the PKLK Brewery as well, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point soon. Until the next time, Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.